I had the painful and, like, terrible experience of having to sit through a video that I will link in the underbar of this, video when I get the time to upload it, but I was just in so much pain from, like, the stupid burnt, and it burnt so hard that I just got offended at how stupid it happened to be, to the point in which it was just I could not take it, and I felt that I had to say something about all of it, which is just like I'm talking about an anime from like way back in 2003 that's called Rumbling Hearts, was it was brought over to America as and it's known now as it was known in Japan as Kimi ga Mizuno-in. It was probably one of my favorite animes that I really ever sat through, and I tried, and it ended up they ended up putting it on Animerica's like 25 animes no one should watch and everything. The show that has been pretty systematically trashed by the community of people that are making videos like this. They tried to make a long systematic teardown of it. And I walked away from trying to listen to this, and it was too painful because the guy like if I take some of his stuff just out of context just a little bit, but I'll link the video to you so that you can see the full context, but it's no better in context than it is out of context that what he's doing. He admits multiple times in his interview in his review that he doesn't understand this anime, but then he takes license to criticize it despite not understanding it. Which, if you can't understand something, then why would you have the proper qualifications to even air your perspective on something? Um, I would say that in fairness to what's going on, this is a show that is, I guess you could say that it's not translated so well in the sense that you know American audiences would misunderstand it in a lot of ways, just for not being experienced enough with this kind of thing, not being experienced enough with real relationships themselves, not having enough experience in like real dating, enough of the problems. And I mean, I've watched a couple of the critics' videos, like Dealer Truth tried his hand at it as well, and I wanted to say a few things about what they said, which is just like I went out and bought the box set after I watched these critiques because it was as a fuck you to them, basically. You know, you're bad at your job in America. I mean, you brought up a bunch of points like Haruka stares at pencil and blushes because pencil about the art of the show, but it never even occurred to you that Haruka just got Tatsuyuki to accept her into a relationship, and that she might be daydreaming, about him in the classroom at that point and stage in the show, and you know these are questions, these are responses and questions that somebody that was literally like 6 could have explained to you. I think that another problem that I saw with your criticism was ultimately that it demonstrated a severe lack of ability to tolerate boredom for any length of time at all. So, the show isn't very fast paced and various at various points, obviously, so it takes some patience to sit through it all. But I found it ultimately as an experience to be completely worth the wait, of getting through it. It shouldn't have taken more than two brain cells to rub together to answer questions like why does she keep running away from Tatuyuki? Because she likes him, and it's clear that from the context of it all, and then in the OAV that was released, where they switched the partnerships, which I've also watched, that she's scared of getting hurt by her crush rejecting her. Haruka fears rejection and keeps fleeing from the boy she likes. I think America's video critiques were so bad on off base that we were rendered even dumber by listening to them, and at no point in his rambling critiques was he even close to anything that resembled a rational point against the series that actually hit the mark. He made days and days of content criticizing it, and yet none of it actually scored a point about anything, which I would link back to the ultimate insult from Billy Madison, and and the academic decathlon as a result of this. At no point in your rambling, incoherent criticism of this show were you even close to anything that could have been remotely compared to a rational critique of it that actually hit its mark. And this shit and these critics, they're poison on the enemy community and they're dragging it down. And frankly, we should run them out of it with pitchforks and torches. I guess all publicity is good publicity for a critic like this, but man, don't listen to him. Pretty much every argument he made systematically left me cringing. What is he, 9 years old, and a man that is really so slow and with such a low IQ? I mean, how do you ask questions like why? How do you ask questions like why Haruka? Why would Haruka run from him? It doesn't take a genius to just assume an answer and figure it out and guess right. I mean, all you needed was the slightest bit of intellect, but no, this guy is apparently really stupid. And the assumption that I made when I watched it was simply that the answer to that question was simply that she's afraid of rejection. And in fact, this explanation it plays out in the script. I mean, she asked him over the phone later on in the show, "Do you even like me?" She's not convinced. So, you know, I found his point about the series' silence gaps and the use of music to be irritating and just indicative of impatience on his part. I see his poor attempt at arguments to be cringe-inducing, as he literally says that Haruka is blushing at a pencil. I mean, this is painful shit. He is really stupid, and having like if we're gonna have anime critics, can we get some good ones and get rid of people like this? Because this was awful. Like there is something uniquely awful in his attempts to criticize this, and it's dumb. The points and the arguments that he makes against it are brain addled. They're brain worms. Like people like this will drag the anime community into hell. It's not difficult to understand this show. I mean, and the problem with Deal or Truth and his critique of it in particular is that he doesn't understand Shinji. I mean, he makes it out like basically in his understanding of the show that like Shinji got what he wanted because Hayase slept with him, which again shows a lack of ability to properly interpret the show. Like if you want me to explain him as a person, then all I have to do is point to the fact that in the OAV as well, he's talking about Shinji. He's one of the first people that she calls, and she apologizes for the trouble that she's caused him. All right, interpretation wise, when Hayase sleeps with Shinji, what you're supposed to see at that moment is that Hayase is on the rebound from Tateyuki. Like you're supposed to see this phenomenon. She's not really into Shinji. She's emotionally vulnerable because she's had her heart broken by the fact that her boy seems to be trying to go back to the girl that just woke up and out of her coma. You know what I mean? Like these guys, like they're not good at interpreting anything apparently if it's not spelt out for them deliberately. Like they're acting like Dealer Truth felt that Shinji got what he wanted because Hayase boned him, and it's like no. Mitsuki slept with Shinji, yeah, but that and Shinji was clearly in love with her, but that doesn't mean that he's getting what he wants. I mean, he doesn't want a night, with Hayase. He wants her for a lifetime, and he, like he wants to be with her, like, but the truth of the matter is that he's like a true gentleman, so enchanted with her that he's willing to let her go. He's not possessive in his love, and I think that's what like Dealer Truth had difficulty understanding and his interpretation as well. I mean, like he reads it as this guy got exactly what he wants because a girl on her emotional rebound from a not quite breakup with just confusion of Tateyuki's behavior and everything. She doesn't know what's going on in that regard. She doesn't get it. she starts drifting basically at that point. She ends up at Shinji's place, and you know when Japan is a very honor um like an honor society in a huge way too. You need to keep like that in mind. So in your interpretation, so it might look on the surface like Shinji got what he wanted, but he didn't really get what he wanted. The real truth is that since he's in love with her, he doesn't want her on the rebound. He wants the real thing. You know what I mean? Like, and he doesn't get it. I mean, like, and since he was into her, and he couldn't have her, he tried to move on. He was dating somebody else. He had a new group of people when he had moved on from his peer group, but she found her way to him at that point, and ended up you know sleeping with him that one night in the series, and it broke him up with his new girlfriend and everything as a result of the infidelity. And he ended up on his own as a result of it. And so like, if it like did these fucking people watch the same show that I did, before they went and launched their shitty critiques of it? Clearly they didn't. I'm really pissed off about it. I'm really actually rather enraged that we got crappy people criticizing this stuff in the anime community. I mean, I don't know. I don't even know what else to say. I mean, these were. I mean, this is an exhaustively long attempt to hard way, show me that it's shit. But all I really walked away from was thinking that this critic is a crappy critic.